a couple days ago. Lake Michigan angler Rob Wendell, couple things. Rob has confirmed he is going to be our speaker for next month, and he's coming here at the Great Escape. If you want to order anything from him, give him a call, and he'll bring it down here for you. I know a lot of the Chicago Evanston guys, it's a pain in the butt to truck all the way up to the Wisconsin border to go get your stuff up there. You don't have to. Give him a call. He'll bring it down here. You can get it here, free delivery from him. So that's it. He's confirmed as our speaker for next month, and he'll bring you any stuff you want. He is going to be doing a program on, he's a kayak guy. He tends to be around the harbors. His presentation is not specifically going to be about kayaks at all. It's going to be about fishing around the harbors, though, because if you've ever seen his posts, that guy catches big kings and big trout in the middle of summer where we're going and we're burning $200 of gas back and forth, and he's catching them right at the harbor in the harbor mouth in his little boat. So he's going to tell. So he's going to tell. He's going to talk to us about what he looks for. The weather conditions. Does he look for weed beds? Does he look for structure? Does he look for current? What he does. So he's going to talk about kayaks a little bit, but it's going to be much more about like shallow water fishing all year long. So that should be interesting. Speaker for next month. And again, if you have anything to order from him, give him a call and he'll get it for you. A buyout was worked out. The store is going to stay open, and as of today, April 1st, unless something went wrong with the closing this morning, Frank's surviving relatives were paid off this morning. He's the sole owner of the store. The hours are going to change a little bit because he doesn't have staff. He's going to be closed all day Wednesday. It had been temporary. That's a permanent thing. He needs 2 days off. He's the only guy running the show, so he's taking Wednesday and Sunday off. So no Wednesday, no Sunday. Other than that, the store will be open. Anybody else have any announcements or any fishing reports? Anything? Nope. Gone. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to tonight's speaker. Tonight's speaker, are you captain? No. Non-captain, but he's still a good guy. So captain, he's probably a smart guy too, because he doesn't have to pay the fees we do and go through the bureaucratic red tape we do. So Tony Kreitz with Sharky Spoons and Tackle. They are relatively new. He's going to tell you about the company. But he's going to be talking about different types and different species of fishing. He's got stuff for salmon. He's got stuff for jigging, which we were just talking about. We should probably be jigging a lot more. I bet it would work well. And also some stuff probably for walleye and other species too. So with that, give a welcome and be polite to Tony Kreitz.
All right, Tom. Again, I'm Tony Kreitz with Sharky Spoons. First, I want to just talk to you guys about basically our products and everything we do. We basically sell 2 types of spoons right now. It's 3 7/8 and 4 3/4. They're a little bit different, I think, than your typical spoons. I'll pass them around so you guys can actually see the finish and the stuff. Well, that's part of it. We're actually going to give one to each one of you guys, so you guys have one to check it out, and you can test them out and everything else. We do spoons. We do blade baits. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with blade baits at all. Do a lot of blade baits. That's what we bake. These 2 things and jigs. The other thing we do also, we are kind of, we work, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Bing Spoons at all, jigging spoons. We work pretty closely with them that we actually sell their stuff too, which, if anything, I mean, that's something too, if we talk about jigging. The 2 main things, if you're going to do jigging, I would say it's basically like our blade baits and also jigging spoons. 3/4 ounce Gobi color jigging spoons that we actually paint for Bings. Work pretty awesome. They hammer them out, in the harbors there in the mouths and everything else. It's a lot of fun catching them on spin cast reels and stuff like that. So first of all, I just want to pass some of these out so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about and see the different finish. It's a lot different than I think some of the other ones out there. Take them out of the package, check out the finish. You can feel them. You can see actually it's almost like a 3-dimensional on the actual finish rather than just a regular gloss finish. So let me do some of that first. Get these out. Then I'll let you guys.
Got your bag.
What?
Got your bag
I'll
ready.
let you guys ask me some questions about them. You don't mind passing them around. Just keep passing to everybody. Some of them are
Carol
pretty
Middle,
small
behind
size.
door 1.
Same shit.
Oh yeah.
Am I looking at the same thing?
They look good.
Some are painted on both sides. We gotta take them out, there's one each for each one of you guys.
He did.
Backside, front side. Look how beautiful these are.
That one slipped right out of the package.
Good, that's how good they are.
Let's see this here. Let's sell these.
Our Kevorkian. Yeah, purple, blue. No, it's like a Kevorkian. Yeah, that one is, yeah.
He's got an oil, like an oil finish.
So this here is a Sharky spoon.
Wait a minute, you
Double-sided. We got the little polka dot ordos here. Then the backside. Look at that. Metal flake beautifulness. This is like a lowrider built into a spoon.
You're hired. Little racer.
If you need a guy, this is the guy here.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, look at it. Look at that side. Kevorkian on one side and polka dot on the other.
It's almost like
Oh, wow.
spring chicken.
Look at that.
Yeah, look, you don't want I does put anything
Did
on
everybody
there.
get one?
Grab a spoon out of the
For
box
two,
and put it
or
down until
whatever?
you lose it.
Yeah, we're
Grab
passing
it,
around, right?
go ahead again.
Each person get one, gets to keep it.
Oh, I thought we were passing them
Oh,
on.
no, get to keep one, take them out and check them out, you know, feel
Unless he
them.
gets them all.
Oh,
A lot easier to take
What do you
them.
keep
Give the good
them?
one away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we gave
What
them
the hell?
all. I want that chameleon one. I want the one with the polka dots. on it.
Chameleon would have been hot on the Kings here.
I want the lowrider spoon over there.
Oh, that's
You
the
guys
one.
can see our
Yeah.
bigger spoon. That's a chameleon.
Oh, I like this. Oh, chameleon's my
That
style.
was
that chameleon on there?
There's
Nice.
Mag over there.
Look how beautiful.
Let's see
That chameleon color, silverback.
Is that what that's gonna be?
Ooh, yeah.
Let's
me
see
see
that.
that
then.
one.
Oh,
That is a chameleon.
Oh, yeah.
If you hold it up to the light, you can see how it shifts
Yeah.
the color.
Oh, yeah.
Goes from purple, green, blue.
I
Oh, wow,
like
yeah.
it.
That's
Yeah.
nice. I think
A little
that
custom
this one will definitely.
race car there.
I like that.
Yeah.
What kind of paint is that?
Called
It's like
chameleon.
a chameleon paint. you
Dry
know.
paint.
Yeah, what
Right.
kind what-
He gets all
who
the
makes
screws.
it? Sherwin-Williams?
Well,
It looks like it.
Tim's gonna ask the man.
That's
it's
not
an
House.
automobile paint, so yeah.
That's not House of Color. That's Sherwin-Williams.
They make see the backside.
I know they do.
Let's see that. Tim, the backside.
Silver.
Oh, okay.
Silver, but it's got the little ribs on it.
Yeah, we make them in two different styles, just a smooth style and
But
a
it's
ring
flat
style.
feeling. There's ribs and it's flat.
Yeah.
What's the deal there?
It's
Clear
finished
coat,
in hand.
clear coat the crap out of it?
Well, it's a little different. You can see it. If you hold it up to the light, you can see the thickness in there, you know.
Oh.
So that's basically, I mean, you guys probably haven't heard of us. We've only been around for a little over a year. Just break it out in the market, something a little bit different to show you guys, you know, to try. Everybody wants to try something different. It's a little bit different in my opinion than what you see, you know, your typical spoons. So that's the main thing we want to come out here, show you guys what we got going on. You know, hopefully you'll come to our site, check it out. Right now we're in the process of reworking the site, but we're also coming out with some new, like a glow line, different colors with glow stuff. So,
Nice.
I think you'll like that. Our glow stuff is really, I think it's going to be something different. It lasts just about as good as anybody, if not better, you know.
There you go.
That's probably one of the key things, I know, when you guys get out early in the morning or late at night.
Nice stuff. Are these UV?
Some of them are UV.
How do you know? Does it say it?
I think on some of them we did mark them. Like these are definitely UV.
Okay, don't
Just didn't get stickered on.
This one's like, oh,
Did everybody get one or no? Here's
put
a,
it back in.
here's one of our
Keep
glow
on
ones.
my thumb. 7 screws in the plate later. I still have a thumb.
It's still there.
It's still, can't bend that top part, but
Yeah, the back on that
but
one is
Yeah.
right there, 7 screws.
It's rod anyway, right?
Look, it's just a little different shape.
that's one of these things around.
That's what I
Just so you guys can kind of see our product. These are our blade baits, the jigs we make.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah.
The river baits.
Yeah, river bait. Well, lake
wow.
goby.
Yeah,
It's
look
a
at
good
that.
on a
You know what?
goby color.
And the goby actually catches whitefish too.
Yeah.
That's a good. These are good.
Yeah.
You could lose 15, 20 of those in a day. At least I could.
You can rip them out of the shells. You can throw in the mussels.
Yeah.
So anybody got any questions on any of our products at all, or?
Ketchup and salt, or salt and pepper. There's salt there.
With the, I'd seen a couple. Was it when you had one the yellow back? It's almost like an oil slick back. Was it? The,
Yeah, kind of like a. Let me see if we have it here. Like an antifreeze bag.
yeah, the antifreeze back. You got
Yeah,
it.
that one.
I sometimes have
Oh yeah.
antifreeze back.
That's one nobody else has.
We can open these. Is this one up? It's hard to see.
Usually
the
that's a
lighting.
bad day for me.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
Put it up to the lighting, and you'll be able to see it. It's hard to see in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
You need a light?
Bling bling.
Now, what do you put on the jigs? See that?
As far as finish.
Gold.
No, as far as you put anything else on there?
Yeah, actually, you can just do any kind of
Look at this one.
plastics. I mean, we work pretty close with a new company too out in Minnesota by the river called Liquid Leech and Liquid Willow Cats. Well, if you guys ever did any kind of fishing on Mississippi River, you always hear about willow cats, live bait little bullheads they look like, and you know they steam the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Well, there's a company out there that makes something that's exactly like them, and they inject them with actually willow cats. They came out with that and leeches that are like unbelievable, like paper thin. The action on them are phenomenal. Yeah, we have them on our site. You can check them out. You can go directly to them too. But yeah, the leeches are something else. I mean, it's probably the best leech I've ever seen. So thin, the action on is just. It doesn't take much. You can probably put it on a slip bobber and actually work it pretty decent. But yeah, as far as the jigs, you can pretty much use anything. You can rig them up with plastics. You can rig them up with chub minnows on some of the bigger ones. We make them anywhere from an 1/8 ounce to 1.5 ounces. So that was something I was going to touch on a little bit too. I know you guys are pretty much well versed on the salmon fishing and the trolling, so I just wanted to talk a little bit trolling as far as three-way rigging and stuff like that that might be a little bit different than what you might guys do. Like the buke rigging, that's one of the things I was going to talk about. Instead of like, let's see here, I've got a rig here that I was going to show you guys. Because mainly what I do a lot of walleye fishing. So the way we rig up a lot of stuff is a lot of snap weights, you know, your typical offshore boards, gator boards, those kind of things. But we also, on the rivers, we run our three-way rigs. So you can do anything from 1.5 ounces to 5-6 ounces. Typically on like Mississippi River, Illinois River, we run 3, 4, and 5 ounce weights. So it's something similar to this. What we'll do, it's a little bit different probably than everybody, is we'll rig up like tandem rigs. It seems to produce a lot of fish, and you can do this with bigger baits. You could probably do it definitely on Lake Michigan with flies. So we rig them up in tandems.
So you got two.
So we're running them like this. Yeah.
One set of hooks.
Mess
in the
with that
last one,
would
the middle
be.
got hooks too.
Yeah. I take the back hook off. You could leave it on there depending on the state, but it seems like it sometimes could easily hook up on the back
Never
hook.
seen that before.
So we take them off. We run it approximately like this, so it looks like a school of bait fish going through.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, and you do get them on here, this bait here, when it's going through the water column, doesn't move very much. It's kind of like a dead bait, but it produces the action on this one. So this one's going like this one's kind of still. Depending on the mood of the fish, sometimes they'll come up and just hit this bait. They want to see something that's not really moving, or if they're really aggressive, they don't want to see that, they just come up and snatch this one. So we do a lot of that. We rig them up like this. We also rig them up with floaters. And we'll run, I don't know if you guys ever seen those felt floaters. It's like a floating jig head. You can run them in tandem same way, and you put on your live minnows or whatever you're doing. You can live minnows, leeches, crawlers, anything like that. So this is one of the tactics that we use on that. And obviously on these you can adjust what you want to fish for. If you're fishing for walleye, saugers, saugers, say on the Illinois River, they're typically pretty much on the bottom foot. So you keep them between 6 inches to a foot on your dropper. Sometimes you can adjust them to 2 feet, but very seldom do you go ever more than that, And then you just kind of bounce along. And if you're running 6 rods, that's why we do 3, 4s, and 5 ounce weights, so we can separate them and then use 10-foot rods, 8-foot rods, 7-foot rods. You don't have to use boards, you can just drop them straight down. Very seldom will you get, even doing little S-pattern turns, you're probably not going to get hung up as long as you have your stuff kind of spread out right, So So if you got a 10-foot rod out there, 8-foot rod, and then kind of towards the back, you're using a smaller rod, and then you adjust your weights the way you should. If some of them are going to be way back, the next rod might be a 4-ounce in the middle, and the long rods will be a 5-ounce, and that's straight down. Straight down, you know, even in heavy current, you're not going to have that bait hook up on the other ones.
Do you have the heavy weight on the inside or on the outside?
I put them on the outside, so it's straight down, like let's say my 10-foot rods, if I have a rod holder here, and then on the back, I do them on the outside. You know, like a 10-foot rod, drop it down, 5-ounce weight. The next rod will do a 4-ounce, it's a little bit further, and then the back of the boat, a 3-ounce weight straight back. You know,
Gotcha.
so pretty much, you can even do your little turns and stuff, and you're not going to get hooked up if you run them like that. That's one of the tactics we use for walleyes and saugers and pretty much anything that you're going to be fishing on the bottom like that will work out pretty good. The challenging part is netting fish sometimes. You know, you hook them and you got to kind of walk to the front of the boat, get the net out or whatever. But stuff like this, I mean, it really does. It could probably put on a tough bite, I would say, 2 to 1 easily on other people. You know, running tandems like that makes a huge difference. One of the other things I wanted to touch base, I guess, on is just even flatline trolling, or even using the spoons. A lot of times we'll on our spoons, what we do, we make sure they're kind of tuned right, so the back hook is basically straight. They're not like running cockeyed, because it'll make the spoon go a little bit different, which a lot of companies probably don't do. But a good thing to do in that is if you want to tip them. We'll run these spoons for walleyes, pretty much anything, salmon, trout, anything. But we'll tip them. If we're running for walleyes, we'll put a chunk half a crawler on the back. You know, it gives that action, gives it scent, gives it pretty much anything you want. You know, everything they want, they got it right there. You just tip the one hook, the center hook, and let it go. Do the same thing with crankbaits. If you're snap weighting with crankbaits, say, I don't know if you guys use deep diving crankbaits. I'm sure you do at times in there. And
Spring and fall.
right, you can tip them with crawlers. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times we've won tournaments just doing that little different thing. You know, just tipping it back hook with a crawler, and everybody else is probably using the same exact thing. But the scent and a little bit of action, a little bit of wiggle on the back thing just attracts them and really gets them going. So, as far as snap weights, I don't know how familiar if you guys do a lot of snap weighting. For walleye fishing, we do a lot of snap weights. You know, whether if you're using them on deep running baits or shallow baits, you know, you can run your snap weights on crawler harnesses. I'm not sure if you guys use crawler harnesses at all, but there's like little blades. You run your beads and a hook, and then you put your crawler on a double hook system. A lot of times we'll run, let's say you're fishing 40 feet, you want to get down, you know, 15 feet or 20 feet. It's a pretty simple way to doing it. You know, you just let out 20 feet. There's obviously charts on there that tell you exactly the depth that you might be graphing your fish at. And with walleyes, you just keep them up a little bit above them, maybe a foot or so above what your senior marks. Well, 20 feet out, say put a 2-ounce snap weight on, you might let out maybe another 30 feet or so, and that could probably get you down right to the strike zone that you want. You know, it's a lot easier to see your charts and you know exactly what you're doing. So, other than that, another option I guess that we do, we bottom bounce. I'm sure you guys do a lot of bottom bouncing maybe. In the weeds, you could just actually use a bouncer that has like an elbow on it, pull spinners and stuff like that. It's a good, effective way to basically troll weed lines. Keeps the weeds off the baits, whether you're running crawler harnesses again or you're just running crankbaits. It's one of the main ways that we could do and get these fish to come out of the weeds without, you know, getting weeded up every time. So, those are some of the small stuff I was just basically wanted to touch on as far as trolling wise. Does anybody have any questions in regards to any of that?
You ever troll with the blade baits?
I have, believe it or not. A lot of people don't, but we've actually put them on lead core. Yeah, I mean, you gotta be pretty precise on it, you know, depending on the area that you're fishing. It's a lot easier if you're fishing, say, sand or mud bottoms, because you're not gonna get hung up as much. But trolling them on lead core can be super deadly, you know, because you're pulling them up and they're
copper
just-
maybe.
Yeah, you could, definitely. But, you know, you just gotta make sure on the bottoms, because once you get it down, unless you got your system down, spot, location, exactly where you know you gotta be, putting out how many colors or whatever, and speed. But yeah, it could be really dynamite doing those.
How do you pick which slot you tie into?
On the blades, typically if I'm casting, more times than not I use the middle slot. Pretty much works for everything.
Vertical.
Vertical, you can use the middle or the front one. You know, it kind of picks it up a little bit
Always follow the front
faster.
one.
Yeah, but casting I definitely would do the middle slot. And the way to work those, I would say, I personally like casting them, and it's not something that you like cast out and you gotta like jerk them back, you know, really fast. I barely work them. I mean, I cast them out there, I wait, count, make sure I see the bottom, let it see a little slack, then I just tighten up, and then I'm just basically lifting it up maybe a foot, bringing it back a foot, you know, and I'm not yanking them hard. Vertical jigging, that's a different story. Sometimes I'll give them a pretty good jerk, you know, to get the fish to go. But more times than not, when I'm fishing them, I'm casting them up and bringing them back. Or if you're drifting, that's probably the best way that we normally do. If you're drifting over a reef, you know, you can cast them out, throw your drift bags out, or whatever. You know, use your trolling motor nowadays. We got crazy good trolling motors out there, you know, that you can pretty much slip currents at will, pretty much. So, yeah, you can just slip the current, cast them out, and work them back to the boat. As far as jigging spoons too, which I don't have them here, but that's something, yeah, I highly recommend getting out there to harbor mouths. When you get, you know, the kings coming in there, or the browns in there, jigging spoons are super effective. You can vertical jig those and just get under them, and you can pop them, let them flutter down a little bit, hold them. Sometimes you just hold them 6 inches, 8 inches off the bottom. Or, you know, if you're using electronics like Live Scope nowadays, you can see them and it's like a video game. You can put them right in front of your face and watch them actually come up and hit your bait. It's pretty incredible. It's technology out there now. For vertical jigging, I mean, it literally is watching a video game screen, and then you're one-on-one with this fish that you're watching on the screen, and you can get them to bite. So, yeah, that's something I would highly recommend, is getting out there and jig up some of those kings and, you know, the browns. I mean, that's something else to get them on a spinning rod.
Tony, what kind of line, it's not right within your business, what kind of line do you like to use for the different presentations of these? Is it different for jigging versus trolling?
Yeah, for jigging, I actually like to use a fire line. Depending on where I'm at, I'll use a fire line and then a fluorocarbon leader. So I'll tie on maybe 6-8 feet of a fluorocarbon leader.
How heavy a fluorocarbon do you use?
Like 10-12 pounds.
Okay.
You know. And then same with fire line, I'll use like a 12, you know, or a 10-4 or whatever. I like using the green, mostly because my eyes are getting a little, you know, bad. It's easier to see the line jump if you need to.
Wait 10 years if you're using yellow.
Yeah, probably. Fluorescent paint.
Fluorescent
Yeah.
orange, yeah, right.
Yeah.
How about for trolling? What do you use for trolling?
Trolling, if I'm trolling for walleyes, I pretty much stick to like 12-pound mono, you know, straight mono. Sometimes I'll use fire lines, but for using boards, I try to just use mono, you know, so I don't have to worry about the slippage on the clips or anything like that. Yeah. But definitely on jigging, I like using fire line. I think the sensitivity is a lot better.
You've got at least 2 guys in the room here who've got places on the Fox chain, one just below the river, one on the chain, and at least one guy on the video has got a place on the Fox chain.
Now,
You want to give up any of your good spots, or is that a secret for
on
you?
the chain, I
Yeah.
actually don't fish the chain a whole lot,
Oh,
to be honest with you. I do a lot of Illinois River fishing, Mississippi River,
Mr. Beard
Lake Erie. I do a lot of fishing on Lake Erie, Green Bay, Sturgeon Bay area, you know, that whole from the lower Fox there all the way up to Escanaba. You know, we do a lot of fall trips going all the way there in Gladstone and Escanaba, Beta Knock area, Little Beta Knock. So I wish I could. I would. I'd give up some secrets, but yeah, I don't do a whole lot over in that area.
How about for Sturgeon Bay? Got any special favorite spots in Sturgeon Bay? Number of guys go up there from time to time.
Sturgeon Bay, water temperature is a big factor there. I mean, when you get out there and you hit it, I would say starting in mid-July to end of July, going through mid-August, end of August, that could be some of the biggest walleyes you'll catch out there. From Sturgeon Bay all the way, you know, a little bit north of there and around the islands, can be phenomenal. Any of the reef structures out there.
Larson's Reef.
Larson's can be one of the best fishing you can even imagine, whether you're trolling or you can jig them up right out there. I mean, there's so much structure on that reef that's incredible. But you could spend a week on that reef, you know, every day.
I didn't catch nothing, you know.
Yeah, there's so much stuff there that's
Yeah.
like, you know, it takes you a while to really understand that reef.
Yeah.
But even further than that, all the islands hold fish. I would say July, August, for sure August, north of there can be phenomenal. You're not going to catch numbers out there, but the fish you're going to get are going to be 6 to 12 pound range for sure. It's good fishing for sure. It's north of Sturgeon.
I know it's good ice out, right, up there. As soon as ice is out, it's good, but then it seems to have the struggle, right?
10 years
Until-
later.
Until the summer, right?
Yeah,
It's-
yeah, for sure.
When's the best in the summer? You think end of July, beginning of August? For those summer bite
for Larson's area, I would say mid-July to end of July,
10 knots.
they're in that area. And as it gets a little bit warmer, they keep going further north
No.
about that shoreline.
Secondary
They,
closed.
basically what they do, they migrate all the way up into Little Bay to Knock, you know, for the fall.
No, it's
And in the
just
fall, that's where a lot
it
of
uses-
folks will end up.
it
Little Bay
uses the
Knock, Big
fuel.
Bay to Knock. Midsummer, they'll basically cruise up that
welded
shoreline.
shut.
They'll go over on the other shoreline in Michigan and Cedar Point area and kind of hang out there for a little bit, you know, until October-ish or so, and then they start keep
I know
going
you
north.
fish up there in October, November, right?
Oh yeah, we fish up there quite a bit in November.
Yeah.
Yeah, October, November, December.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you, what made you go into this very lucrative business of being in the fishing tackle industry? You know, I mean, obviously it's for the money, but putting the extreme wealth aside, what made you go into it?
Just the love of fishing and creating something that I think is going to work better than other things, you know. For the most part, it's that, you know, trying to create something that's trying to change like colors and stuff, and you know, you create something, you see it work, and you're like, you know, you just want to show everybody what you're doing and see them succeed on different spoons and blade baits and everything else. That's probably one of the greatest things. You get all these pictures people send you like, oh man, we just did great down in the pier. Like right now, down in the Fox River in Green Bay, the pier area, it's on fire for walleyes. You know, I mean, there's a lot of boat traffic out there, but there's so many walleyes in there that, you know, you can't miss. Fishing's outstanding there.
What's your typical price range on these spoons?
On the spoons, they run $6.99 on the smaller ones, and then $7.69 on the larger ones. Yeah, so they're a pretty fair price for the finish that you guys can see. You know, they're really competitive on them. And for you guys, actually, we're probably going to give out like a 10% discount for, I would say, probably forever.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So we'll just have to work something on the website where we can just, you know, write it in there so you can just punch in the code. So.
When the walleye guys are all packed in like this, you all work together, real cooperative, you know, you share each other's spots and all that.
Oh, of course. Nobody's ever cursing the other guy off or casting too.
Especially in Wisconsin, it never happens in Wisconsin.
Never.
It's like a big kumbaya moment every time you fish up
Yeah, and
there.
then they see Illinois tags on the boat, you know, they're like, oh yeah, how you doing? Do you want to use this?
So, for your trolling, do you have any particular kinds of rods, weights of rods, reels? What kind of equipment do you like to troll with?
If I'm trolling, it's probably a lot different than your guys' stuff. I vary them, 8'6" rods, like a medium action, you know. A tip that'll, you can kind of see when boards and heavy wind, you know, because we're pulling a lot of boards, you know, in Erie, Green Bay, that, you know.
So a lot, just so you know, a lot of the charter boats, use walleye, especially the ugly stick walleye rods. You go to I'd say probably the majority of charter boats around here use ugly stick walleye rods, probably 7.6.
Yeah.
That's what I use for
all
my
mine are
disc
7 foot
rods.
wood handle ugly sticks.
Yeah, wood handle ugly sticks are still real popular.
I got
So
some
we use the
6
same
or
stuff.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. I use those for dipsy rides, actually.
Okay.
You know, occasionally we'll use dipsies out there, you know. Lake Erie, fish are the same way, kind of like in Green Bay. They'll migrate north. Well, Lake Erie, like right now they're spawning up on the reefs on the west end, and what they'll do is once they spawn here pretty close in the next week or so, they'll start making their way to the east. You know, they'll go from the West Islands over there, and they'll go all the way to New York. It's crazy. You know, they'll go all the way there within 3 months and then make their way back. Come like October or so, they'll start making their way back. So yeah, I mean, the further east you go on Lake Erie, I would say from Cleveland east, the water gets deeper. You know, it's an hour east of Cleveland. You're fishing 70, 80 foot water, trying to catch walleyes at 70, 80 feet. You know, in the middle of August. So that's where the dipsies, snap weights, jet divers, all that kind of stuff comes into play with their copper lines.
Do you use jet divers?
Oh yeah, occasionally, yeah.
And they have a little swappy thing to do with you.
Yeah.
I'll connect with you offline about that, because some of us have got boxes of jet divers in our basement from our dads that we don't use.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Or a
well, now
deep
there's everything.
six.
pink ladies, they got those too.
Yeah.
But that's mostly when those fish are, you know, east from there in August. You know, if you're like from Cleveland over, you're not going to find that kind of water. You're going to find 30, 40 feet at Lake Erie, and that's why a lot of people are like, "Whoa, it gets really, you know, really crazy over there," because it's such a shallow Great Lake that the waves kind of come up, and they're not like Lake Michigan waves. You know, Lake Michigan waves, you got big rollers you can get through. Over there, they're piling up right on top of you. There's no space in between.
Anybody in your walleye clubs or contacts that fish walleye down here on the south end of Lake Michigan? There occasionally you see one caught, and they're usually big. Every time
There's more guys fishing
I know.
walleye down there. It's super secret and lucrative about it, but there's
Yeah, there's
I know
a few guys that
fishing the casino down there in Indiana.
down in the port.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always hear of a nice fish caught down by the port of Indiana.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of them out there. I mean, there's not a lot of structure for them. There's a few reefs that they put out there, but you know, those fish I think are coming from Michigan, you know, from the rivers out there, and they'll come down. You know, there's a few, but it's nothing like.
Not like
The chances if you go out there to just strictly fish for walleye and be successful are pretty slim. You'll probably zero out on the southern Lake Michigan more times than you'll limit out for sure. For sure. Any other questions for me?
Now, do you run those drop weights behind yellowbirds and everything, or no?
Like this?
Yeah.
You can. I run snap weights where you just snap them on behind boards. I've ran, actually on gator boards, I use a lot of gator boards. I've run 6-ounce weights right on the boards, and they still float out. That's about the extent you want to go. 6. I've tried 8. They'll still move through there, but you know, I would say 4 to 6s you can still run on there. Which a lot of people don't think you could run them on boards, 4 6-ounce
Well,
weights on them, but you can.
Up at Sturgeon Bay, a lot of the charter captains for salmon fish walleye a lot. You know, half of their season is walleye and half is salmon.
Right.
They run on the salmon side. They run 10 ounce, and 3 ways with 10 ounces. They run okay. You got to use the church boards are bigger.
Right.
You got to be careful when you're letting them out, because if you let them out like free spool, will take that board down. So you got to let it out slow and go over.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now is that how? I've only done it with 10-ounce weights. Will it take like a church board down if you just like free spool it back? Or?
Yeah, I mean, on a snap weight, 6, 8 ounce, just like you said, you got to go slow. You got to hold it. You know, you can't just free spool it and put it in a rod holder and let it go, because it'll drop them down. You know, it'll bury them, and then you got to work to get them back up, and then you know, who knows what had happened to your bait by the time you do that. But you got to work them back. But once you get pressure on them, yeah, you can pull pretty heavy weights on. I mean,
Why
pull
do,
4,
why
6,
do walleye guys reel so slow?
They're different. It's a whole other thing.
Every year we we'll get a walleye
You don't do
guy.
this,
We'll
you'll
get a
pull it right
walleye
out of
guy
the mouth.
reeling like this, and the fish is passing the boat on the other side with this big loop of
got it,
slack line.
you got it.
Like reel.
Yeah, they don't pump rods, you don't do any of that.
Yeah.
You reel slow, get the board off. A lot of times you'll lose fish just by taking your board off. If their mouths, they just don't stick as good, you know. They'll grab it. Sometimes these walleyes will just come up and just nip it, and you barely got them on that back hook, so you're just barely creeping them in, you know, just so you don't lose them. But
Yep.
Well, they're better than the bass guys.
Oh, God, the musky guys?
Yeah, the musky guys.
you're
I'll-
lured.
I'll
Set the
take
hook,
them on.
baby, set the hook.
Got the fucking
Set
dodger on your
5 times.
antennas.
Yeah.
I'm right there.
You're trying to set the hook on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, just keep doing it.
Yeah, it's a whole different type of fishing for sure.
Yeah.
Do you use your drag or do you back reel when you get a big one on?
Sometimes I use my drag. I would say more times than that. You mean like if I'm casting for them, like with play baits? Yeah, I try to set my drag. So I set it enough to where it's not like, you know. Well, obviously like kings, that's a whole different story. If you get them on like that, you got to kind of set them enough, but not too much, because you know. But walleyes, set it a little loose, you know. Not too bad, just enough that if you got a 9-10 pound walleye on your jigging, you know, the drag's gonna go on enough, but you got enough pressure on them to still be able to bring them in and not sit there and fight them for like 30 minutes, you know.
Any other questions for Tony, guys? Nope. One more for you. Do you have a preferred hook? And other than, there's always a cost factor, but what's your favorite treble hook to use on these things?
You know, believe it or not, some of these eagle claws are getting better and better.
Okay.
I would say back then I didn't like the eagle claws as much, but other than that, Gamatsu hooks, I like them. You know, they're good
What do you put on the spoons?
These are eagle claws.
Those are eagle claws, yeah. The higher end eagle claws, yeah. I heard they were.
Yep. I think they're a lot better than what they probably were for a little
Yeah,
bit.
they all have, you know, I'm, a couple of us are in VMCs, but the same thing, they've got VMC's low line we wouldn't use.
No.
2X, 4X are the good ones.
You get what you pay for.
You give me big,
Yeah.
good eagle claws.
Yep.
Cool, so you're using good quality eagle claws and
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. They seem to be holding up so far for
a lot
all
of
the
the
feedback
spoon,
we're getting.
a lot of the spoon for the companies that we buy from these stores, their hooks are just getting to be awful.
Horrible. It's the first thing you do is replace it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the fish does it for you.
Or the fish.
Well, yeah.
You used to see guys used to kind of pair the right hook, one for weight and a little bit of balance. Now it seems like they just throw the cheapest damn hook on there they can get.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Sure. Cutting costs where they can, I suppose.
Yeah.
Another thing I guess I forgot to talk about a little bit that could help in trolling wise when we're trolling crankbaits. I don't know if you guys believe in scent or not. A lot of guys don't believe in any of that scent, but I never used to really believe in scent until I went to like Lake Erie, and you go out there in the spring and it's just chocolate. I mean, because we get north winds in there, it just dirties up the water. You know, it's virtually impossible to catch fish. I did a little test for myself, and yeah, sure as not. One side had scent, one side didn't have scent. Or a little bit of a scent on it, whatever. You know, there's so many different ones out there. But you could try a little bit of scent on a crankbait when you got super dirty water and you can't even see like an inch down. It'd probably help putting a few more fish in your boat doing that. Just because it gives them something that they can kind of track. And then if they get close enough, some of these walleyes will just track it before you decide to hit it. You know, they'll track it, see, they smell it, and maybe they'll get a chance to actually see it. So, and if it's dirty like that, the other thing you want to do is definitely slow down your presentation.
Do you clean the lures after?
After scent?
When you're using scent?
I do.
What do you clean them with?
I just kind of wipe them off. I mean, I don't take any kind of, you know, any kind of harsh chemicals or anything to them. I just kind of wipe them off as best as I can and then put them away. I know some guys like on their spinner blades, some charter captains up there, they'll just leave the stuff on there, but
Yeah.
it's just like an oily
Good
mess in there. You know?
Yeah, good
For me,
friends.
this stuff sticks together. And,
Well, like the West Coast guys, they use non-ultra lemon joy
yeah,
to clean out the plugs.
yeah,
That's
that's where that would work.
supposed to be good stuff,
Yeah,
not Dawn or anything.
and it probably wouldn't sit on there.
That stuff's actually supposed to be a fishing tractor.
What's that?
What, lemon
Non-ultra lemon
Bleach.
joy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, probably.
Lots of bleach.
Bleach.
Creates a lot of bubbles.
Bleach and Dawn cleans them right off.
WD-40, right?
Yeah.
They had a little whiskey and they're all good.
I like that
COVID
smell.
free
That means
lures.
it's the end of the day.
Any other questions for Tony? I'm sure he'll be around for a little bit. If anyone's shy and embarrassed, they can do it. But thank you very much, Tony, for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. If you guys got any questions, you can shoot me a message on our site on Facebook, or anything else, yeah. I'll be
All right.
happy to answer anything.
Awesome, thanks a lot, Tony,
Thanks,
really
Tony.
appreciate you coming in here. So just to conclude, next month is, again, Rob Wendell from Lake Michigan Angler. It's the 6th, right? Yeah, May 6th, so we'll be Rob. I do not yet have, I've got July covered, I do not yet have a speaker for June. Any leads, send them in, because I'm going to be looking for a June speaker now. I always go out 2 months in advance, make sure it's booked, so. Any leads are appreciated, so thank you very much, guys. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got cake and, cheese for the cake.